Alright, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be doing February's monthly review. Hope you guys had an amazing month. February provided so many opportunities. It was honestly insane, and I'm happy to see that. I mean, any good trading month is great, but especially when it hits on your birthday month, it feels even more special. So really happy we had a great month, especially because this year, I really got back into options trading again, which used to be my main focus. For those of you that don't know, I've been trading for about 5 years now. 4 years of those have been mainly focused on options. And then the past year, 2023, I try to kind of implement futures, but I kind of went 90% futures, and then I still traded about 10% options. And then this year I wanted to do it more like 60-40%, where I'm doing 60% futures and then 40% options. And oh my god, like the opportunities have been insane. We had SMCI this month, which was just crazy. And then we've had a lot of growth stocks this month, like AI, Carvana, Mara Coin. Those have been huge winners for us. And just like there's been so much opportunity. Like this honestly reminds me a lot of 2020 and 2021, which were like, I don't want to call them easy years to trade, but they were just opportunity filled to the max, like insane opportunities where you could have literally turned pretty small amounts of money into serious like 6-7 figures, starting from like 4 figures. Honestly, like I seen a lot of people around me do that kind of stuff, and I was in a similar situation. This year, I wouldn't say maybe it's not exactly to that level yet. It's only been like 1 or 2 months, right? But it has been some insane opportunities. So like I said, really happy to see that. And we're going to be going into the stats. Just quickly wanted to show the stats from last month. So last month we were standing at a year-to-date return of 116 and 87 cents, not 87 cents, 116.87%. Our total R return was 292. Our profitability was 4.58, which I predicted wasn't going to stay that high. Our win rate was on the higher side, 67%. Then our average R win was about 2.41. Our average R loss was -1. So let's see if we improved or got a little bit worse this month. So these are the stats now for the entire year, including January and February. Our year-to-date return now is standing at 342%, which is pretty solid. Our total R return now is at 855. Probability, yeah, we definitely saw that coming. We're standing now at 2.46, which is still amazing. But you know, I kind of knew it wasn't gonna stay at 4. Anything above 2, I'm pretty happy about. Win rate did come down a little bit, still around 60% on average, right? If you round it up a little bit, so that's all right. Can't really complain about that. Total our profit we've made is 1,400, which sounds insane, and then we've lost about 586 of that. On the losers, our average R loss did go up a little bit. It's standing at 1.87, and then our average R win did go up a little bit too. So our ratio was probably a little bit better last month. So it got a little bit worse, right? There was a couple of days where I felt like I wasn't managing my losses as well, just because there was so much opportunity that like I felt like I could be a little bit more aggressive and push it, and just kind of I wanted to give some trades a little bit more room. But I will try to like bring this number back down for, you know, once we start including March. I do want to be a little bit more strict, because I do feel like that unnecessarily cut into our P&L. Like when a trade is going to work out, and we're going to get into the 2 best trades for the month and the 2 worst trades, and we will see that when the trade works out, it works out like right away, and there's no reason to be giving it unnecessary room to like work out when you just don't have to do that. It's unnecessary waste of mental capital and unnecessary waste of actual, you know, money you're losing. I would say unnecessarily. Like time and time again, it shows that the best winners, or like the best price action, is gonna be easy for you. Not easy for you, but it's just, I don't know how to explain it, but like those days where I performed really well, they really did feel natural. They felt like I was just in the zone, right? There wasn't much struggle. There wasn't much fight. There wasn't like, oh, I had to enter this trade and then I stepped out, enter this trade, stop out, enter this trade, stop out. Like on the really good days, that just wasn't happening. And then on the frustrating days, it would be where I would have the most amount of trades. I would have get stopped out and then re-enter, add to my position, then have to get stopped out on that, and then have to re-add that size back in. It's just a lot more frustrating. Like today, February 29 was definitely one of those days where it was a little bit more frustrating. And then compare that to February 28, a lot easier, right? A lot easier. A lot more simple where like I get into a trade, I let it work out, and it just works, right? And those type of days where like I kind of enter that flow state, it just feels like I can read the market really well. And then on days like today, where I still ended up walking away green, but it was just harder, right? And it took more effort to extract the same amount of P&L. So I got to take notice of that and then really push on the days where I'm in tune with the market, and then kind of be extra protective on days like today where just stuff isn't working out as great. There's no reason to push it when stuff's not working, and then there is incentive to push it when you're doing really well. So that's something I want to improve on. And then shout out to Taylor. He recommended I add the Sharpe ratio. I wasn't really sure on how to do it. I'm still not 100% sure if this number is accurate, but based on what he told me, based on like, you know, he recommended some YouTube videos, and then he sent me some more information. So I figured I ended up doing the calculations. This is the number I ended up getting. As far as I'm aware, that is a pretty high number, but I mean, it's the number I got. So again, I'm not 1,000% sure if that number is correct or not, but as far as I'm aware, that number is correct. So I have a Sharpe ratio of 9.04. This is our P&L graph. Obviously, this is our equity curve. Because each point is 1 week, right? Like you don't really get too much information. I did have a couple red days. I actually did write that down, so we'll get into that right now. But because every week has been green so far, it's just straight up line, right? So let's pull up that notepad. So I did have 18 green days. One like actual break-even day where like we were red like 1.9 R, which I would consider a break-even day, and then I had 2 red days. The reason I was able to push it so hard was I think the week prior to that I had hit every single day was a green day. I was just like I said, in tune with the market, and so I really started pushing size, and this is where I got the most aggressive. I traded like double my regular size on this week, and that's why we were able to push it that week. And we also did hit some pretty good trades that week. So we made a total of 256 R, which was basically the total we made on January. So we made that like in a single week, which is pretty insane. But that just goes to show just the insane opportunity we had this week or this month. Just insane stuff. Okay, but those are basically all the stats I had for you guys. Now let's actually head over to the charts and talk about 2 of my worst trades this month, 2 of my best trades, and then some final thoughts and reflections that I had on the month. So as always, I like to start off with the losers. So let's go over the 2 worst losses this month. And they're not necessarily the worst losses P&L wise, but just the worst losses that I just think they were unnecessary. So the first one was over here. If we go all the way back to February 8, I believe. So this is pretty similar action to what I like to see. So this action to me looks like very topping out action. I would definitely say there's like a zone there. And kind of like the video I talked about recently where I talk about supply demand zones and chart patterns. To me, this and this was giving me evidence that we were sellers were probably going to start taking control. We were obviously in an uptrend now, so this was potentially the top of that. And so that's why I was leaning to the short side. Once we saw this move here, I really liked that. So I'm like, okay, you have a high, low, lower high, lower low. Wait for that balance. Once it starts coming down, right to the V, that's where I take my short entry. Ideally, obviously, I put my stop loss somewhere right here. But because we were going into market close, so market close like somewhere right here, I just kind of let it play out. So we kind of started consolidating here, and then we started breaking out, flip this previous resistance into support, not what you want to see. And then my final line in this item was obviously if we break to these highs, and we did, and that's when I ended up getting stopped out there for a pretty nice loss. Let's see how many points that was. That was about 36 to about, let's round it up to say about 40 points out there. So that was one of my worst trades of the month. not too upset about it, just because this is a pattern I like to trade. Most of my trades this month that were ended up being the big winners were to the short side, and this is a very, like, I would take this entry 10 out of 10 times. So I have no what's it called? No issue with the entry there. The only thing to consider is that it was going into close. That is a factor that maybe I got to be careful about, not taking this entry if we're like going into close. I'm okay with swinging plays, so that's why I still took it. But that is something to consider, and probably the best place won't happen as we're going into close. And I'm okay with getting an entry like once we're deep into the afternoon session, but that is something to consider, right? So okay. And then the only other the one issue I do have to the trade is that I didn't keep it tight. I should have definitely let my stop loss there, but I tend to be a little bit more lenient when it is after hours, but shouldn't have been the case, right? And so that was one of my worst trades this month, and luckily we did stop out because it ended up going a lot further against us if we would have stayed in. The next losing trade was actually, this one was a lot bigger of a loss, and especially because I did go kind of aggressive on this one, which was really dumb on my part. This was another after hours trade. I don't think it's considered after hours for the futures market, but for regular trading hours it was. So this was the day Nvidia had earnings, and the initial reaction to the earnings was negative. That's where you see this big ass wick. Once I saw that initial reaction, I'm like, okay, gonna go short, right? Like, simple. There wasn't like a pattern I was looking at or anything. It was just the overall trend was to the downside. So I was like, okay, makes sense, right? And we had this move up like the last hour going into close. So I'm like, okay, that's another pattern I kind of like, where when we get a pretty strong move and then it gets reversed, that's a pretty indication that this new move right to the downside is pretty strong. So I ended up entering there pretty aggressively, and then obviously it's Nvidia, right? What are we thinking? We're in the cycle of these stocks just absolutely going on insane runs. Like, let's pull up Nvidia really fast. This is not a stock you want to be shorting, right? This is not a stock you want to be shorting. So obviously, big mistake on my part, and I paid the price for that. So took the L there. Let it go a little bit wider than I wanted to, for sure. But this is also after coming off an insane win. So that Nvidia loss I took was still this happened in week 8. So I was having an insane week. Like Monday, Tuesday were insane days for me. And so that's why I was kind of okay with going. First of all, I went a little bit more aggressive, and then I gave it a little bit more room because I was coming off a pretty big winner there. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have done one like this type of play, just because it's a little bit more riskier, because it is involving news, and these type of moves do have a higher probability of reversing on us, which it did in this case. And then took that big L, but yeah, just not a very smart trade. Do I necessarily regret it? Probably not, because I do think the risk reward was there. If I did end up being right on this trade, I think the reward was there. I think semiconductor stocks were definitely showing signs of potentially topping out, and because I did get that evidence of the first reaction being negative, I was willing to take that risk, but ultimately didn't end up working out. Okay, so those were the 2 worst trades this month. Nothing too crazy. Like I said, it was a pretty opportunity filled month, so I did take a lot of losses this month, but they were just smaller regular losses that I'm going to take, right? Again, I don't have a 100% win rate, of course not. I take plenty of losses every single day, but not every single day, but most days I do take losses, but they're just a normal 5-10 point losses that I don't normally take, right? But these were the 2 a little bit bigger size losses that I did end up taking this month. Now let's get over to the winners, which is the more exciting part. So the first big winner was over here, all the way back in February 12th. And again, these are not necessarily my biggest winners P&L wise, just because of sizing and all that, but just like the points wise and the trades I like the best. These were the 2 trades I ended up selecting. There was 1 or 2 trades that were way bigger P&L wise, but again, I'm just including these trades because I think they're the most repeatable. They're the most like ideal trades that I want to be consistently taking, And I think these are really good examples of that. Okay, so this one, very similar pattern to what you guys know I absolutely love. We get some topping out action here. We get evidence here, evidence here, evidence here. This was massive evidence that sellers are taking control now. Again, similar to what I just told you guys, once we get a strong reaction like this and then it gets reversed, that increases my confidence a ton that this new reaction is going to be really strong. Okay, and if we draw out the pattern, right, we have a high, low, lower high, lower low. Then we kind of double top here, which I like, and then we get this massive next leg down, which I'm like, okay, I need to get into this play. Once we get a bounce, which is what I like to see, and then we start reversing. My entry was obviously not up here, somewhere like right here. And then on trades like this, you put your stop loss somewhere right here, and you just see we never look back. Just never look back. So there was no reason to exit this trade. We kept getting pretty nice action, just like I told you guys. Ideal, what's ideal type of action? High, low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Didn't make a lower low, but that's okay. Never broke to these highs. Eventually did get that lower low, so great. Lower high. Give me a second. Here's where you might have got stopped out, because we did end up getting this push up here. Whoops. But I was okay holding this trade unless we really like start breaking above here. There's no real concern. Again, you could argue an uptrend is starting to form here because you're getting a low, high, higher low. This high didn't really break, but you're getting then another higher low, and then this high does break, and this break did have a little bit of strength, so that was a little bit concerning. But this was during after hours, so I was okay with still holding it, and because I did believe that this move was pretty strong, I was gonna give it some more room. And again, no real concern until we start breaking above here, and then we do get this big move to the downside here, which was nice to see. Then you get another high here, or wherever you want to draw it, right? And then we come into open, or this was actually before open, so this was a news event, which kind of helped us, and I was okay holding through this. That was another reason I held through this, because I knew there was a news event coming into play. So I wanted to wait to see if we would get some kind of because normally we get some positioning happening before the news event, and if that positioning was to the upside, obviously I would have got stopped out, but the positioning was to the downside, which is great. And then of course I was willing to hold through that news because, again, risk reward. Is the potential this rips up 100 points against me? Sure. What's the worst case scenario? I get stopped out above break even. Cool. I walk out with a small winner. Best case scenario, it goes in our favor, and then we end up catching a pretty big move there. I did end up selling a little bit early. I could have caught like an extra 60 points, which I was a little bit upset about. But it happens, right? Like that. Like this doesn't look too big, but that was like an extra 60, 70 points that I missed out on. So I was a little bit upset about that one. But the rest of the trading day, the rest of the trading day ended up being a really, really strong day for us, anyways. And then this was still a pretty big winner here, about 300 points. I think it was like almost exactly 300 points, or very close to. But a very, very solid trade there, and yeah, just a pattern that I really like to see. So that was one of our bigger or better trades this month. Let's go ahead and get rid of this now. Here was another one of our better trades, and this one again wasn't necessarily our biggest trade P&L wise, but just I really liked it also because it was one of our fastest bigger trades. Like this trade happened really fast. Normally for these bigger trades I have to hold them for quite a bit of hours. Like my average hold time this month was probably like 5 hours plus, but this trade was really fast. This was like less than an hour, I think. And it's a similar setup where we get topping out action after a pretty strong move up, and then we get that evidence. Sellers are really starting to step in. Then what do you do after you get your evidence? You wait for that first bounce. As it starts curling, you make your entry, and then this is going into open. So I got an entry right before open, and then we just got that flush right away, which is nice to see. And then because it was such a big move in such a short period amount of time, once we started seeing any signs of buyers, I ended up exiting there. This ended up being about a 150 winner, I believe, 150 points. Yeah, it was about 160, 150 points there. But just because in the time manner it happened and just how clean the setup was, I wanted to highlight it as one of my better trades this month. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty simple, like pretty simple trade there. And those were my two better trades this month. But yeah, just an overall really opportunity filled month. I really did well this month. I feel like it was one of my better months in a very long time, just performance wise. And even outside of futures, like I said, the options market or the stocks, right, just had some very, very great opportunity as well. But yeah, we almost doubled what we did in January, so that's great to see. Not sure if we're gonna continue to see this level of opportunity the rest of the year, but while the opportunities last, it's our job to just capitalize on them, right? So hope you guys had an amazing month and amazing start to the year. It's been such a blessing to trade this year, and coming up on 5 years of trading. So I think earlier I said I've been trading for 5 years. Not quite. It's been 4 years. On April, so coming up in like 2 months, I'm gonna be hitting my 5-year mark of trading. It's been an insane, huge roller coaster of a ride, right? There's been lots of ups, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of downs. But we persist, right? And obviously when we get periods like this, it's really great to see, and it just feels really amazing to get to experience months like this after going through those long periods of like just trial and error of constantly just running into walls and just periods of a lot of frustration. Like this is a super frustrating career path, and it's a very hard one, and it's just nice to finally be on the other side of that, finally excelling and seeing the fruits of those years and years and years of just time spent, energy, focus, losses, pain, suffering, all of that. It's finally starting to see the rewards of that, right? And I've been doing this for a very long time, so I guess not to get too motivational on you guys, but you're going through that tough time right now. Like one of the best practices I ever started implementing into my own trading was going back at the end of every single day and looking at what the easiest trade of the day was. For example, let's go back to today's action. Let's go to a 1 minute candle. Where was market open at? Let me get my tool. And then this is market open. So this was the action we got today. Using hindsight, there's two easy trades I see right off the gate, right? Two easy trades I see. So you guys can pause the video and try to guess what the two easiest trades of the day were. Okay, got your two easiest trades of the day. Two easiest trades of the day start here and here. Okay, and I'll explain why. This goes back to the supply and demand video I just recently came out with. And there's a reason why supply and demand zones are they're just the basic things, right? They're the basic things. Like anybody can draw the supply and demand zone. So reason why I like a trade up here, you get this fresh high here from pre-market. Okay, that's evidence that we're seeing some strength, right? Then you get a pullback. Okay, expected. This is still continuing that low, high, higher low. Never get a higher high. That's important, okay? And even if you do get a higher high, but you get that instant rejection, that's also very key. And you can honestly start a trade there, going short, and then put your stop above those highs, right? Wherever those highs ended up being at. But I like to be a little bit safer than that and wait a little bit. So we never break into new highs. So that's your first sign of this kind of weakening. But look what we get. Off the supply zone, we get evidence shorts are taking control. And they sold off this entire move. So now this, previously we were using this as evidence of strength, right? This wipes that out. And that's why that pattern that I've been telling you guys about, where you get strong reaction in the opposite direction. This wipes out this, okay? Important, okay? Then you get your bounce. And as you start curling there, that's where I would have taken a short trade. Again, I did mention earlier that today was a little bit trickier. Why was today was a little bit trickier? Because once you start getting the selling, and that's where I would have entered short, then you get this move. I think I did end up playing this, and then I got stopped out actually, even though it didn't end up breaking highs. That's why you want to give trades a little bit extra room, but you put your stop somewhere there, enter short here, and then you could have got a pretty nice move there. So that was one of the easier trades from today. And some days are just going to be a little bit trickier like that, right? But even if you get stopped out there and then you immediately get the flush back down, you re-enter there, okay? And then you just put your stop loss above here. Sometimes these trades are going to take 1, 2, 3 entry attempts of getting stopped out before you catch that entry, okay? Second easiest trade, you get this big move down, right? Same thing I've been talking about though. This is looking very weak. You get this breakdown below this support zone, but then you get an equal opposite reaction. So now this is this evidence that was being used as strong evidence that we were weak is now throw it to the trash, right? It's gone because that move got reversed. So this, which was previously a support zone, doesn't really hold as a resistance zone. If we started seeing this, okay, then we're probably going to continue lower. We didn't get that. And then we start kind of building basing here. And then as we start pushing back above, that's an easy long in my opinion. Where do you put your low? Where do you put your stop loss? Somewhere under here. Yeah, right, whatever. Just basically breaking that low. And then you get a pretty nice move in your favor. So those were the two, in my opinion, easiest trades today. And you just want to go ahead and do that for every single day of the month. Go ahead and do that. And you'll train your brain to find those entries. So that's a very good practice that I started doing. Another thing is to constantly review your performance and be honest about it. Be honest about things you did good, first of all. A lot of people like to start off with what they did bad, what they could improve on. First of all, like being honest, start off with this. Write down everything you did good, because that's really important. That's important because if you don't reward yourself for doing the right things, you're not training yourself to keep repeating those things. And sometimes doing the right things is enough, because sometimes that's enough to outweigh all the negative stuff. Like sometimes we like to focus on what are we doing bad? Like how can I fix these mistakes I'm making? Sometimes all you have to do is just get better at the stuff you're good at, because it's easier to do that sometimes. So write down all the things you did good. Obviously, we're still going to focus on the things we did bad, the big mistakes we made. And then get really specific about how you can start avoiding those things. Like it's something very simple that a lot of people still do is they end up having these really big red days. And that should never be the case, because big red days just have such a negative impact on us, not only P&L wise, but even worse is the emotional impact of really big negative days. Really big negative days have a huge hit on our confidence, and people don't realize how important confidence is. So yeah, you gotta believe in yourself, and so that confidence aspect is really, really important, because you're not going to execute at the highest level unless you're confident. Okay, it's not possible to execute at a high level without having that confidence. And so those big red days take a really big toll on our confidence, and it takes a long time to recover from them. Sometimes it's something you want to avoid at all costs. Be more focused on avoiding red days like that, than you are of trying to chase the green days. The green days will come no matter what. If you're constantly trading in the market, those home runs, those green days will come, given, you're setting yourself up for them. But those green days will come. I think everybody watching this video has made money trading before, whether it's paper trading or actual real money. But I'm sure you've had green days in trading, right? Green days will come. It's inevitable. Green and red days will come. As long as you can avoid the very big red days, that's honestly almost enough. Do that, and then also set yourself up for hitting those home runs. And how do you do that? That's another important thing that I was talking with another trader today, is that so many people are they're too what's it called? They're too hungry for those wins. They're not really giving themselves a chance to hit those really big winners. What I mean by that, a lot of people start getting really anxious when they're in a winning trade, and then the opposite happens when they're in a losing trade. They actually feel more comfortable being in a losing trade than they do a winning trade. What's the first thought that comes into your mind when you're in a winning trade? What if this trade goes red? I need to take profits. It's smart to lock into profits. It's not though, because if you're locking in those profits, you no longer have the chance to hit a big winning trade. And that's why you will always see me have a really high average hold time, or my longest trade is going to always be hours and hours long. It's always going to be hours and hours. Why? Because that's the only way. Again, the big money in markets is made in the patience, in the waiting game. It's not through the executions. The days where I'm pressing buttons over and over and over again are usually not my best days. My best days are just days where I'm just sitting there, just doing nothing, honestly, just letting the trade play out. Those are going to be the biggest days. And too many people just get out of trades way, way, way too early. And that's why I tell people, focus on the exits. Exits are way more important than entries. And people, I met a lot of people that disagreed with me, and I was kind of surprised. I'm like, really? You disagree with that? Most people will argue they're both equally important. I still disagree with that. But, just because entries are pretty simple, right? They're just pretty simple. But the hardest part is holding that trade and letting it get to that patience part. Just focus on the basics. And some of those basics are having that patience, being okay with losing. Those are the basics of trading, but a lot of people are still not good at them. They know they should be working on those kind of stuff. Discipline. A lot of people don't have discipline. And so it's like those little basic things, those 3 things right there, if you don't have those 3 things on absolute lock, that's probably why you're not seeing the results you want to be seeing. It's not because you can't read the chart. It's not because you can't have good entries. It's because of those 3 things right there. Okay? And and I've been rambling on for too long. Like, how long? 40 minutes. This video was supposed to be 15-20 minutes long. So I'm going to go ahead and end it there. I'll go ahead and make another Talks with Zero pretty soon so I can get my rambles out to you guys. But hope you guys had an amazing month. Cheers for the rest of the year. We still got 10 months to go. So if you haven't had the best of start, we still got 10 months to go. No reason why. Right? I just had an amazing month. Okay, that's in the past now. Now I'm starting back at 0. You guys want to know why my name is 0? Because I get to see that name every single day. It's a focus. It's a reminder to myself to always restart back at 0. One of the things I used to do very common. Look at me just continuing to ramble, right? One of the things that I used to struggle a lot with was I used to be what he calls it a boom and bust trader, where I would have periods of really excellent performance and then I would give it up in 1 or 2 days. And then I would go back into my winning streak, right? Because I would start back at 0 and I'd be like, okay, let's get disciplined again. And then I go on my winning streak and then I blow it up again. Then I'd be like, okay, let's start back at 0. And then I'll go on my winning streak. So I'm like, okay, instead of just repeating that cycle, why don't I just act like every single day I'm starting at 0? And just having that mindset just changed the game for me. Just so now that we're going into March, it's a fresh new month, starting back at 0. Can't focus on what happened the previous month. can't look forward to what's gonna happen next month. Just gotta focus on the present today, and the most important day is the day you're currently living in, the current moment you're in. So yeah, that's the mentality I want to going into March, and I'll see you guys next month. I'll probably post more videos between today and next month's review. But hopefully when I catch you guys on next month's review, you guys have had some pretty good performance as well. But yeah, the year is still young. We haven't even ended the first quarter yet, so a lot of time to still improve your trading. And hope you guys took some kind of value from this video. But yeah, see you guys later. It's me Zero, and I'm out. Peace.